Hey, welcome back to Tort Talk with John and Mark and our special guest, Joe Fantini, who joins us every single week to talk about the latest updates in mass torts. Stay tuned to the end of today's video for a special personal announcement from Joe.
Welcome, John. Let's get into the first topic. We have RoundUp. We just discussed it last week, but Bayer's motion to stay the litigation was denied while the Supreme Court petition was pending. Joe, what does this mean for the litigation?
Yeah, so what's going on with that one, Mark, is everybody knows that Bayer filed the petition to the Supreme Court to rule on the preemption issue. While that was pending, what Bayer did is they filed a motion to basically stay the entire litigation. They didn't want any of the trials moving forward. In Missouri, what ended up happening was the trial court fortunately denied that motion and in essence said, just because you have a petition pending to the Supreme Court, that doesn't prevent us in these case-specific litigation to go forward and complete discovery and work up the experts. So in that litigation overall, the cases are moving forward. We have a handful of individual trials that are scheduled towards the end of 2025 and some in the beginning of 26. We'll see if those end up going to verdict or if Bayer continues its tactics and ends up settling those cases one off before we go to verdict.
Very interesting, that conflict between the state court and the Supreme Court.
Yeah, it's a big issue. We're obviously waiting on the Supreme Court's decision, but this allows us to keep the pressure on Bayer. And as we talked on last week, even if the Supreme Court takes up the case, it won't be until about the summer of 2026 we have a decision. So it's good that we're able to move forward with those cases.
And another pesticide that has an MDL is Paraquat. Obviously smaller litigation than RoundUp, but there were rumors of a potential deal in April, just a few months ago, to resolve the MDL. In the first trial case in Philadelphia was settled. Are we ever really going to see a trial in this litigation?
Great question, John. I don't think we'll ever see a trial in one of these Paraquat litigations. Basically, what's happening is the potential damages are so large there. So as we've seen the defendants do in RoundUp and other litigations, when a case gets up to trial, they usually settle that off. So the next case we have teed up for trial here is in Philadelphia. As you mentioned, that first trial case got settled before the trial even got started. This Philadelphia case is scheduled for trial in October. I'd be stunned if it ends up going forward. While we have that going on, there's also litigation, couple hundred cases in California State Court, and then in the MDL, there's over 6,000 cases pending. So I'm hoping we're going to have a breakthrough here before the end of the year and get the Paraquat litigation, MDL, and state court resolved, but we'll keep an eye on that.
Going to the next one. So hair relaxer just passed 10,000 filings in the MDL. What are some of the key dates to keep in mind for this litigation?
Yeah, so once a mass tort gets past that 10,000 case number, I consider it a really large mass tort. So now we're continuing to see a good number of filings. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year here, we're at 14,000 cases. So we're working forward with the discovery in these cases. And the next big thing that we really have on the docket is the beginning of 2026, that all-important science day. So that's when each side gets to come in, present some experts, explain their story of what went wrong, who knew what, when, and get the court educated on that. That's really a primer for the trial. But in these cases, I think we're about a year out from any trial taking place. So my prediction is it won't be in 2025, likely in 26 before we see any sort of settlement. It's still moving forward, but expect at the end of the day about 20,000 total cases in the MDL.
With those cases being filed, do you know off the top of your head what are the main injuries that people are filing for in the MDL today?
Yeah, so basically there's only 3 injuries that are going to be included in the MDL. So they're ovarian, endometrial, and uterine cancer. Everything else is excluded from the MDL, not supported, so they'll have to go to state court. So in state court, right, there is some battling going on with for example, fibrose or a hysterectomy, but it's unclear really if those cases are going to be compensable at the end of the day. So the MDL only centered on those 3 injuries. Like I said, I think we'll see a double the amount of cases we have filed at the end of the day, hopefully get resolved sometime in 26.
Gotcha. Good to know. And hopping into the last one, John, you want to go into it?
Yeah, Depo Provera was very, very hot when that litigation first came out. The filings have definitely slowed down. We only have about 600 cases pending. What should we expect to see for the rest of 2025 for the Depo litigation?
Right. When that came out, we really saw a rocket docket in the MDL. I hadn't seen anything like it. The case was moving so quickly with certain deadlines and certain proof requirements at the time of filing. The momentum's really slowed down there in that litigation. But next month, we really have the most important hearing in the whole case. It's going to be the Daubert hearing. So I expect a ruling on that towards the end of Q3, the beginning of Q4, and then we'll have an idea about whether the cases are going to continue to proceed in the MDL or if it's going to pivot to the state court action. So right now, there's about 100 other cases filed in various state courts. We have some in Pennsylvania, Delaware, California, Illinois. So depending on this ruling here on the MDL, then it will see if we get a positive ruling for the plaintiffs. I expect that number of filings to increase dramatically throughout the end of 25 and into 26, or if we're going to have one of these consolidated state court actions where the attention then shifts.
Is there a general understanding of the size of this potential litigation and how many cases there could potentially be out there?
Yes, that's a good question. This was a very popular birth control. It was used for many decades. So I'm hearing somewhere of maybe 30 to 50,000 total cases at the end of the day. So right now we have about 600 filed in the MDL, under 100 filed in various state courts. So there's a long way to go. People are really investigating. It's a little harder to get the records and the proof because some of these patients' records go back decades. So trying to get proof from something in the 80s or 90s or early 2000, a little bit more challenging than the typical case we see. But that is definitely a big potential for this case to grow.
And this is still focused on the brain cancer, the meningioma from the Depo.
Yep, exactly. That's the only injury that's really being pursued at this time. Maybe if more research and investigation occurs, there could be additional injuries, but that's what it's limited to in the MDL, and same injuries being pursued on the state court level.
Fantastic. Joe, Mark, we were talking before we went live about some of the updates that we're working on for next week. For those of you watching, be sure to tune in. We're going to be releasing these episodes every single week. Next week, we're going to be talking about upcoming mass tort conferences that maybe you could see Joe and some other attorneys at. We're going to be talking about the Uber MDL. We're going to be talking about Bard PowerPort, and anything else that winds up hitting the news over the course of the next 7 days.
Joe, I heard you have a big announcement coming up. What is happening this weekend?
Yeah, really excited to share with you guys here. This coming weekend, I'm getting married.
Woo!
Yeah, really excited about that. Looking forward to that. So I'll have more to share on that when we connect next week.
But don't worry, Joe will be here next week for Tort Talks. He will not be taking a honeymoon right away.
Or he'll be joining us from his honeymoon.
TBD.
Time will tell. If there's anything else that you guys want us to cover, if you have questions, comments for Joe, for Mark, or for myself, please feel free to leave a comment here on the post and in the video, and we'll be sure to touch on it in our next episode. We plan to be here with you every single week for Tort Talk. Joe, Mark, thanks again.
Thanks again, Joe.
Thanks for having me, guys.